And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the
classic. Time.
Hey everybody, Alex back again with another video. As you can tell from the title of this video, it's a very different video to what I usually do on this channel. This is kind of a follow-up to a video I did last year in February, when I showed off my Stephen King collection then. So this is going to be an updated collection, and it's pretty much used up the whole part of this living room. You can see behind me the bookshelves are currently empty. It's the first three and then half of the fourth shelf that my Stephen King collection uses up. At this point I think I have most of his books. I know off the top of my head there's still a few I'm missing, but I'm not in any rush to get those, particularly because a lot of these I still need to make my way through. But with that said and done, I cannot wait to update you guys on this video, on my collection. The last time I filmed this video, I had 27 books by him, and my collection has grown substantially. I have 68 of his individual titles, and I have two things that are somehow related to Stephen King, either connected to other books he's written, or like, we have a book that I'm going to show that was written by one of his kids, and then there's one book I'm going to show you that I've accidentally doubled up on, but I'll explain that when we get to it. I think I've got the order of... What?
I'm saying, you're gonna be there a while.
I am gonna be here a while. For the purpose of this video, I've put everything in publication order. It isn't how they sit on my shelves. The way they sit on my shelves really annoys my other half.
It does.
So I'm going to show everything in publication order. Just note that isn't how they all sit on my shelves. I do want everything in hardcover because I do prefer hardcover, but again, in no rush to get everything in hardcover, just in a rush to try and read everything by him that I physically can. So I'm going to go through everything in publication order. I'm currently surrounded by books.
Yeah, literally.
Literally surrounded. But yeah, let's crack on with this video because we're nearly 3 minutes in already and I still haven't shown a single book. So
your wife keeps getting off.
Let's get into this video. The first book he published, as many of you know if you're a regular Stephen King fan, Carrie, his first novel from 1974, and this particular edition, I'm not going to do this for all the editions, this one is a 25th edition from like 92 or something like that, New English Library edition. Really like the cover on this one. But yeah, his first book, Carrie. This is one of the ones I have read. Salem's Lot is next, his second published novel. But yeah, this book I am yet to read is a New English Library edition yet again. This one I think is from 77, the edition, but it originally came out in 75. So there's that. Haven't read Salem's Lot yet, but it is on my bucket list for this year to get Salem's Lot read. There's like the big three by him I want to read this year. Salem's Lot and The Shining are obviously two of those big three, and there's one more that I'll get to a lot later. You may or may not be able to see it in the stack next to me here, but we'll get to it. But yeah, The Shining, this is a I want to say 13 edition, 2011 edition on The Shining. I will read this one at some point this year. I'm not sure when. I'm trying to read the Bill Hodges. I'm currently working my way through the Bill Hodges trilogy because I want to make sure I'm all caught up on the character Holly Gibney before that book comes out in September. Next up is Night Shift, his first short story collection. Of course, you guys, if you're a Stephen King fan like me, you know this one has Jerusalem's Lot and One for the Road. in this short story collection, which both have connections to Salem's Lot. One takes place before, one takes place after. So I'm probably going to end up reading this in like alongside Salem's Lot. So I read Jerusalem's Lot, then Salem's Lot, then One for the Road, and then go back and finish the rest of these short stories. But yeah, Night Shift, really nice New English Library edition. Next up is The Dead Zone. This one is a first edition on Viking, a first American edition. I'm so lucky to have this because first UK hardcover editions are really expensive on eBay. So I'm talking like triple figures. Yeah, very happy to have a first edition of Dead Zone. Next up is Firestarter. This is a book club edition of Firestarter. I don't know how I really feel about the cover on this one. I like the gold lettering, I suppose, but yeah, it is what it is. Next up is the one non-fiction title by him that I own. That's Danse Macabre. Basically his take on horror writing and stuff like that. I didn't know this book existed till I picked it up, and this is the book that inspired me to look more, like, do a bit more research into Stephen King books and where to start and stuff like that. So Cujo, this is the first UK edition. Really enjoyed this one. This was the first Stephen King book that I started and the second Stephen King book I ever finished. We're going to get to the first one that I ever finished way later on, but yeah, Cujo, really good book there. The Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series. This one is a 2012 edition. Obviously, for those of you that know, I think The Gunslinger was released in like 6 different editions or so. Originally between 78 and 81, I think, in like a sci-fi magazine. And then he put them all together in this one book, really short novel. I don't hear the great things about The Gunslinger, the first book in the series, but hopefully when it gets around to it, we'll see how I feel about it anyway. Next up is Different Seasons, another short story collection. Very good one. Very excited to get to this one because it has the short story of Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, which they then later turned into The Shawshank Redemption, which is one of my favourite films. These two I actually really like owning, these next two, because they, although they're both book club editions, they go hand in hand. So we've got Christine and we've got Pet Sematary. But I like them because the covers, the spines match. And I think they look really cool when they're sitting on the shelves. On to the next stack, we kick things off with The Talisman, a modern New English Library edition. Another one, this one actually has the pages falling out of it. The Eyes of the Dragon is next. I believe this is a first UK edition. This is a first UK edition. I do like the cover on this one. I think it's really awesome. It's just a shame I don't hear the best things about this book. Thinner is next. The first Richard Bachman book I'm showing, and I own 2 others of the 7. This one I hear pretty cool things about, so I can't wait to get to that one. Now, I talked about the big 3 at the beginning, with Salem's Lot, The Shining. This is the other one of the big 3 I want to try and get to this year, and it is a big book, and that is It. This is probably the one I'm excited to read the most. The Drawing of the 3, this is the second book in the Dark Tower series. Again, another one I hear pretty cool things about. Misery! Have read this one. I gave it 5 stars. For those of you that are interested in keeping up with my Stephen King reading, I do have a Goodreads account. I'll leave the link to that down in the description below if you wanted to follow me on there. Because I don't know if I'm going to do more book related videos. Let me know if you want to see more book related videos. Back on track. I have read Misery. I've really enjoyed this one. This is a book club edition. And yeah, did enjoy this one. The Tommyknockers, another one I don't hear that great things about. But yet again, whenever I get around to reading it, I'll let you guys know what I thought about it. Another one I'm super excited to read from his 80s work is The Dark Half, and one I hear really cool things about. Just cannot wait to eventually get around to this one. Up next is the only book in this collection I have 2 copies of, and like I said, I accidentally doubled up on this one. So I have a hardcover edition of The Stand, the full and uncut edition, and I also have a paperback edition of The Stand, which I bought in an eBay lot alongside The Talisman, which I showed earlier, and another book that I'll get to. But I bought that thinking this was the cut edition of The Stand, just for completism, and it got here and I took one look at it and I was like, based on the thickness, that's got to be the uncut edition, and it is. So I own 2 copies of the uncut edition of The Stand. 4 Past Midnight, another short story collection by King. I'm sure this is a 1st edition. Nope, it's a 4th edition. Looking at the inside cover, never mind, but I have it nonetheless. Next is The Wastelands, the 3rd book in the Dark Tower series. Another one I hear great things about. Needful Things, and this one is the newest addition to my King collection. This one I actually just upgraded from a book club edition, and this is a genuine 1st edition. It's Gerald's Game. Dolores Claiborne is next up. Another book club edition here. One I hear very, very mixed thoughts on. Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Yes, another short story collection. A really thick one. Insomnia, which I'm going to read alongside the Dark Tower series, because I hear there's a lot of tie-ins, and I've been putting off reading the Dark Tower series because I didn't have all the books. Rose Madder, one I don't hear great things about, but one of my colleagues at work, it's his favourite book of all time. The Green Mile, another one I hear really cool things about, another one where I've seen the film and just cannot wait to dive into the book. These next 2 go hand in hand, as many King fans will know. Desperation and The Regulators, released on the same day. One is obviously released by King, one is released by Richard Bachman, which is his pseudonym, but the same person. Wizard and Glass is up next. This is the 4th book in the Dark Tower series. Next up is Bag of Bones. I read this one in February of this year. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Gave it 5 stars. Maybe preferred this one over Misery. The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon is next. This one my mum gave me for Christmas. Christmas that's just gone. Alongside another book, which we'll get to later. What's in Atlantis? Another short story collection. Dreamcatcher. I am somewhat excited to get to this one, but it is a very thick book. Black House is this is the sequel to The Talisman, set 30 years later from what I understand. And a lot of people say you don't need to read The Talisman to read this book, although I wanted to read The Talisman first, so I kind of have a background on some of these characters. From a Buick 8, another one I've had to upgrade from a book club edition. Yeah, there's some damage in the corner, but I don't mind. That stuff don't bother me too much. Everything's Eventual. Yeah. It's another short story collection. Wolves of the Calla, the 5th book in the Dark Tower series. Then it's Song of Susanna, then the 6th book in the Dark Tower series. And then we have The Dark Tower, the 7th and final book in the Dark Tower series. The Colorado Kid, his first of 3 hard case crime books. Cell, another one. Zombies and Cell Phones. It sounds like a pretty decent book to me, so I will give that one its fair shot. Lisey's Story, another fairly thick book. Blaze, this is the 3rd and final Richard Bachman book I'm going to show you in this video. Again, a book club edition. But Doomickey, this is the other book I got alongside The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon. One I've been buzzing to, really looking forward to reading for a while. Just After Sunset, Under the Dome. This one looks intimidating from the size of it, but another one that I'm actually really looking forward to reading. This one, I hear some cool things. Full Dark No Stars, it's another short story collection. Next is 11/22/63. This one quite thick as well, but I am actually excited to read this one. I know I keep saying that, but genuinely, although I do want to read it first because I hear that there is a tie-in to the It book. Next up is The Wind Through the Keyhole. This is the Dark Tower book 4.5. This was the last book I actually ended up getting for that. Joyland, Doctor Sleep,
Pardon me, I'm so sorry.
another book I want to make sure I read The Shining first, because again, I have seen the film, I know it follows on from The Shining. Mr. Mercedes, literally just finished this one, and I can say I thought it was good. I didn't think it was amazing, but all my thoughts on it are on my Goodreads. Revival, I hear this one's sort of his take on Frankenstein. Finders Keepers, this one's going to be the next one I read on my Stephen King read. Like I said, I'm working my way through the Bill Hodges trilogy, hopefully before September. The Bazaar of Bad Dreams, this is not the last short story collection we're going to see. End of Watch, this is the third and final book in the Dark Tower series in the Bill Hodges trilogy. Sleeping Beauties, which is the book he wrote with his son Owen King. As you can see, it's quite a beefy book. The Outsider, this is the first Stephen King book I actually ended up finishing, and I probably should have read the Bill Hodges trilogy first, because there's a lot of mention of Bill Hodges, the character Holly Gibney, and what they got up to, in the sounds of it, what they got up to in these three books. Elevation, a short Stephen King novella, probably the shortest one I own. That's not in a collection, so that's exciting. The Institute, I hear this one's kind of like Firestarter. If It Bleeds, the final book to date until September that has the character Holly Gibney in it. Next up is Later, his third and final hard case crime novel. I forgot to mention Joyland was also a hard case crime novel. Billy Summers, Fairy Tale. This is, as of when I'm filming this is his most recently published novel, and I still haven't read it. I was going to, and then I realised, wait, I don't want this to be the first Stephen King book I finish. But yeah, I will read Fairy Tale at some point. I don't know if it'll be this year. I'm going to try to make it this year, but I do really like the cover, must admit, on this one. Okay, that's it for Stephen King books, like directly. Now onto the stuff that's somehow related to him. I'm going to start with Gwendy's Magic Feather by Richard Chizmar. It is related to the Stephen King books Gwendy's Button Box and Gwendy's Final Task, which were also co-written by Richard Chizmar. I don't own those books, but I have listened to the audiobook of Gwendy's Button Box. Final book I'm going to show in this video is one by his son Joe Hill, one I am really looking forward to reading because I hear nothing but great things about this book. And that's The Fireman. Whew, that's everything. That is all 70...
I'm surprised you needed breath then. You were rambling like this.
I know, I was rambling like that. I seem to do that a lot. But finally, we are done with all 71 books I had to show you in this video. That is a lot of books. So that's going to do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you want more book related videos on the channel. I can probably do something. I don't know what yet. Make sure you follow all my social media. Links are all down in the description box below. Subscribe if you're new here. And yeah, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye.